The past few messages, sometimes Yahweh deals with us in different ways, and one thing that I've been hearing within myself is just, let's brush up on some of the things that we do, and let's figure out why we do them. Let's understand some of the things that we already do, instead of just doing things and having no understanding, or instead of just simply falling in line with the norm, or looking a certain way because we know that's how you're supposed to look, or doing a certain thing because we know that's what you're supposed to do. And at some point, all of us have had to question some of the things that we have done, whether we are supposed to do it or not. So some of the more simple things that we do, and understanding really the power behind it. And a lot of things we learned when we were growing up in our traditions and the traditions of man. We understand that a lot of those we had to let go and part ways with. But we also know that there are some things that Yahweh allowed us to learn in those places. And there's growth that He allowed us to experience while in those places, so that we would know and understand Him.
Thank you, Father.
So we don't leave those behind. We don't leave those behind. We now begin to dive in and understand exactly what these things are. And I can tell you, just even from this ministry, and from the onset of this ministry, we started out as a ministry of learning and teaching, period, point blank. And at the time, it was Yahweh really speaking to our leaders, saying, as Rabbi always says, he said, teach my people. And so we had to get to a position where we could get some understanding, where we could get some reason, where we could get some comprehension, where we could intellectually decipher what it is that Yahweh is calling us to do. Not just simply doing things just to be doing it. So in that, this is a family, and this goes back further. What you see here, Rabbi and Rabbis, and you see myself and my sister and so on and so forth. But what you don't see is even their line. You don't see their parents and the music and the praise that is in them even. And it runs on both sides of these families, just praising and that music that just rings forth. So that was always a part. It was always a part of what we have done, always a part of who we were. But even in that time, Yahweh stripped even that away. And He said, all I want you to do is study. I just want you to understand who I am. But how many of you know that sometimes Yahweh takes something away from you because He needs to work on something else? Sometimes He doesn't take it away from you because it's bad or because you don't need it, but He's taking it away from you because right now I've got this to work on. And this at this point, this on the other side is a distraction for you. So I need you to see me clearly. So I'm going to talk about today the power of praise. The power of praise. And we understand and know that it is good to give thanks unto Yahweh and sing praises unto His name, O Most High. And we understand that, we want to say thank you, Father. We want to give Him glory and give Him praises. But do we truly understand why? Do we truly understand why? So we're going to look at the power of praise. Let's first turn to Psalms chapter 34, verses 1 through 8 is what we're going to read. Psalms chapter 34, verses 1 through 8. And it reads, I will bless Yahweh at all times. His praise is continually in my mouth. My being makes its boast in Yahweh. Let the humble hear and be glad. Oh, make Yahweh great with me. And let us exalt His name together. I sought Yahweh, and he answered me and delivered me from all my fears. They looked to him and were lightened, and their faces were not ashamed. This poor one cried out, and Yahweh heard him and saved him out of all his distresses. The messenger of Yahweh encamps all around those who fear him and rescues them. Oh, taste and see that Yahweh is good. Blessed is the man that takes refuge in him. Blessed is the man that takes refuge, that finds protection, that seeks safety. For he is our strong tower. In him. In him. Praise and worship is extremely important to a believer's spiritual connection with the Father. And it's not just a part of our service that we do just because we got a few people that can sing. But again, truly, very strategically, I'll never forget when Rabbi said, Calvin, I want you to start bringing your keyboard again. Let's start working on some songs, and we need the Spirit and the Torah. And I'll never forget that conversation. In my head, I was like, yeah. But now, looking back at it and processing through it, it was truly, I'm going to go back to another story and I'm going to explain where I'm coming from. When I was probably 5, 6 years old, probably about 6 years old, lost my first tooth. And at the time I was learning how to play brass instruments, and particularly the trombone and the trumpet. My uncle gave me a trumpet. He played trumpet all through high school and college and so on and so forth. And he gave me a trumpet, right? So I'm learning how to play this trumpet and learning how to play this trombone. And my tooth came in crooked because I was constantly playing. And I'll never forget, my father said, you're going to have to put this down for a while your teeth are coming in. And it devastated me. It broke my heart. I was like, oh my goodness. So I learned how to play drums in that time because I ain't So I picked up the drums. But it just devastated me because I couldn't understand why. And he said, son, you have to allow your teeth to come in properly before you can pick your instruments back up. And during that time, he took that away from me for a greater purpose. Hallelujah. And so, again, praise and worship isn't just a part of the service that we have on the agenda so that we can fill up some more time, or so that we can show off, or so that we can, exercise a gift or anything like that. But truly, it was purposely placed and purposely designed. And Yahweh spoke to our leadership to say that this is an integral part of your relationship with the Father. Yeah. All right. And as with any relationship, if one only comes in when they want to ask you for something, how would that make you feel? Truly, how would that make you feel if the only time your child came to you was, Daddy, I want some Jordans. I saw them when I was walking home from school, and I like to have those. Next time they come to you, Daddy, I saw some these jeans, and I really want to get those. Daddy, there's this girl at school that has this cap, and I really like it, and I want one of those. Daddy, I want to get braids in my hair. Can you give me $200 so that I can go get braids in my hair? Daddy, I want to get this bracelet. Every time the child comes to you is to get something. How do you think that would make Yahweh feel? If the only time we come to him, this is what we interpret and have interpreted as prayer. Father, I need you. I need you to come through and clear up my situation. I need you to get rid of all my issues. I need you to grant me this house. I need you to grant me this car. I need you to give me this. I need you to give me that. Father, bless me. Everything is about being blessed for me. But I'm not blessing him. I'm not blessing him. There's something missing in this relationship. So we read here in Psalms, a true heart of praise and worship. And we read here that what David is really saying is, as a result of my praising and worshiping the Father, you have rescued me. As a result of me going before you and praising you. In verse 3 it says, oh, make Yahweh great with me. So he's inviting even others. Come on, let's make Yahweh great. Oh, yeah. Come and praise him with me. And as a result of this, in 7, the messenger of Yahweh encamps all around those who fear and rescues them. So as a result of my interaction with him, as a result of me not, Daddy I need, Daddy I want, Daddy I need, Daddy I want, Yahweh I need, Yahweh I want, Yahweh I need, Yahweh I want. As a result of me blessing his holy name, as a result of me giving him praise and thanks, he encamps around me. He rescues me. He's my strong tower. Because you know what? You know what? When you come before him with thanksgiving, he says, you know what? I'm going to bless you. Hallelujah. And Rabbi said something, and it just hit me like a ton of bricks. And to this day, I hear it ringing in my head, and it's just the most awesome thing I've ever heard. And we've gotten so confused. Praises go up, blessings come down. But what she said was, truly, when obedience goes up, hallelujah, blessings come down. So when we are obedient to him, then he begins to shower us with blessings. Why does the scripture say, seek ye first? Hallelujah. That gives an order. It says, okay, do this, then all of these things will be added unto you. But you've got to first seek Yahweh. Hallelujah. You've got to first seek Yahweh. So in verse 8 it says, oh, taste and see that Yahweh is good. Oh, taste and see. So y'all know me, I'm always looking up words, right? So taste, that word is ta'am, taste, H2938. And it means to taste or to perceive. To taste or to perceive or to eat. How do you perceive something? Well, I'm going to use something. I was riding down the street and, I'm thinking in my head and I'm like, yeah, Yahweh has given us relationships. And I'm always saying, I've been saying this for a long time. These relationships Yahweh gives us on earth is a great example of what his relationship with us should be. He gives us family relationship. He gives us husband and wife relationship. He gives us friendships. And he calls us friend. He calls us bride. He calls us his sons and daughters. So he's also given us authority, authoritative figures. So then even in that, he calls himself our master. So he gives us all of these examples, or so I thought it was examples. But then I really thought about it. And I'm like, are these examples? Let me show you what an example is. This is an example. You open a magazine, and there is this beautiful savory dish. This entree that just looks so wonderful and delicious. It looks so wonderful that your mouth begins to water. That's an example of what this dish could be if you follow these ingredients. Or if you go to this restaurant. But a sample. A sample. Not an example, but a sample. Now the chef comes out having prepared this wonderful dish and says, would you like to taste and see that this dish is good? So here's a sample. So really what Yahweh has blessed us with when he gives us, you know, mothers and fathers, when he gives us sons and daughters, when he gives us authoritative figures, husbands and wives, friends, when he gives us this, he is giving us a sample. Hallelujah. A sample, not an example, not only an example, but even greater than that is this sample. So why did I even bring this up? Why did I even bring this up? Again, in Psalms, that taste, in order to perceive, you've got to take part. You can't perceive something without taking part. Because unto that point, you're limited in the senses that you can use to interpret it. But when you can say, as David says, don't just look and see. Don't just observe and see, but oh, taste and see that Yahweh is good. That Yahweh is good. So that's a call to worship. That's a call to worship. That's a call to praise. So let's now begin to dive into this. And it's such an important part of the experience and the strength of that relationship. It really is. And let's look at praise. Praise, there's several words used for praise. But let's look at the one where Leah is naming her son Yehuda. This is one example of when the word praise is used. There's also halal. Halal, that's also for praise. But we're going to use yada. Okay? And that yada is H30:34. That's the yada that was used in Genesis 29:35. And that's where Yehuda is being named. And that is, again, yada. Yada is to praise. And it means to throw or to shout or to cast. Okay? To throw or to shout or to cast. Its root word being yod, the hand. Yeah. That's hand. Yep. And in that, it's not just hand, but it's strength, it's power. That's right. Stays as columns, stays as a column. And in support. Support as in the lever. Support. And then tenons as in used in the tabernacle. So now we begin to see that there's some connections here. There's some connections because this word that was used to describe when she said that I praise Yahweh because he has opened my womb, that this word is meaning strength and power, support. You know, every building has support beams. Whether you're supporting the floor, whether you're supporting the ceiling, whether you're supporting the floor from becoming a part of the, or the ceiling from becoming a part of the floor. So that would be a support beam that allows that roof to stay above the floor. Support beams. Support. So that praise, that word. So let's look at Leviticus 19. Leviticus chapter 19. Leviticus chapter 19. And we're going to start at verse 21. And we're going to read down to 24. Verse 21, and we're going to read down to verse 24. Leviticus chapter 19, verse 21 down to 24. And he shall bring his guilt offering to Yahweh to the door of the tent of meeting, a ram as a guilt offering. And the priest shall make atonement for him with the ram of the guilt offering before Yahweh. For his, I'm praising you. I'm blessing your name. I'm saying that you are everything that I will ever need. And in me recognizing that, I recognize that I'm nothing. That I'm nobody. That I am but as filthy rags. Hallelujah. So I begin to exalt his name as I praise and as I lift his name up and as I call him who he is. But when I worship, I bow before him. I recognize the fact that only him, that he gets all the glory, that he gets all of the praise, that it all belongs to him. So going back to the beginning, what's the difference now? What's the difference of having an example. Well, here's the example. The example is that I'm sitting and watching this experience go forth. The example is that, you know, I've even heard people say, well, all I need is the Torah. All I need is the word. I don't need anything else. So what you're saying is, all I want is the example. I don't want to participate. So this is why it's so important when we walk in these doors that we get as much of a sample as we can handle. That if for no other reason you're excited, I mean, it just gives me joy to see people walking in and they're just excited about being here. Because they're not just simply being a spectator to the example, but they know they're going to get a sample. It's one thing to show me a magazine with this wonderful dish on it, but it's a whole nother thing when you bring me a plate and a fork. I'll take the sample. I'll take the sample. You know why? Because I want to taste and see that Yahweh is good. I don't want to just hear about your experience about him. I don't want to just know that he's been good to you. But I want to know for myself. So praising and worshiping Yahweh is the most intimate part of this service. It's the time that only you know, there's times that you know, and being in the position that I'm in, having to, you know, direct and keep the flow of things going, sometimes it gets difficult. Because I just want to act like I'm in the room by myself. You know? And sometimes my praise team do that anyway. But it's all good. Because you are in this thing with Yahweh. This is your intimate time with the Father. This is a time when you can praise and exalt his name as you bow before him. Hallelujah. As you are prostrate before him. So when you worship him and you are recognizing who you are versus who he is. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing. So don't be satisfied with the example. Don't ever be satisfied with just the example. If it takes closing your eyes and acting like there's nobody else in the room, do it. But this is between you and the Father. This is your time to tell him directly from your mouth who he is to you. This is your time to thank him, not to ask him for anything. Notice, I am extremely selective about even the songs that we sing. Because I don't want it to be misconstrued that we are wanting Yahweh, bless me, bless me, bless me, bless me, bless me. You know what, Yahweh, if I bless you, you'll bless me. So we are going to just simply give you praise. We're going to simply exalt your name. We're going to just lift you up and make you great in all the earth. And as Yohanan said, that I may decrease. That I may decrease. As you increase, I may decrease. I may decrease. So I think it's extremely important to recognize the fact that, you know, the scripture says, praying without ceasing. And I think it's extremely to recognize the fact, and I said it earlier, that prayer isn't just simply asking for something. Prayer isn't just simply asking for stuff, but recognizing the power of Yahweh's hand in your life. And don't wait till you get to Shabbat to do that. Because he's good every day. And I want to sample every day.
That's right.
So we have to take this so personally that this is your time. And remember, I've said this even earlier when we were talking about the different feast times. You know, it's one thing for MHG to be doing something. It's another thing when you're not here, because your praise, your worship to the Father is what's missing. Your obedience to whether that's keeping of the holy times or keeping of the Shabbat, your time is missing. Nobody else's. It doesn't matter who's here. It doesn't matter who's in this time. If this is a set apart time, it matters not. If Passover is going on and you're not in Passover, am I saying, oh, if you're not here at MHG, then you're wrong? No, I'm not saying that. But Passover is a set apart time, not a set apart place. Right. Okay?
Come on now.
It's a set apart time. So what I'm saying is, if you're not in that time, your intimate time with the Father is missing. Nothing nobody else does will ever make up for it. It's up to you. So the same thing applies with your praise and your worship, with you exalting His name. If you're not doing it, it doesn't matter what the praise team is doing. You know what? This praise team, we are simply praise leaders. We're simply leading the worship. That's it. But if you are not participating, let's go back and read Psalms now. We done got all the way through this thing. Now let's go back and read Psalms. And let's pay attention to what he's saying here in some of these mandates or these calls or these petitions. And let's really pay attention to what he's saying here. I will bless Yahweh at all times. Does he say only on Shabbat? His praise will continually be in my mouth. My being makes its boast in Yahweh. You know why? Because if we are in Him, then He will exalt us. Because as we lift Him up, guess what He does? He brings us up with Him. So if you're so busy struggling trying to exalt yourself, what does the scripture say? Those who exalt themselves, He will decrease. He will lower you. He will bring you down. But He says, for those who they are not boastful, for those who decrease themselves, I will exalt them. I will exalt them. So my being makes its boast in Yahweh. Let the humble hear and be glad. Oh, make Yahweh great with me. And let us exalt His name together. Together. I sought Yahweh and He answered me and delivered me from all my fears. They looked to Him and were lightened, and their faces were not ashamed. This poor one cried out, and Yahweh heard him and saved him out of all his distresses. The messenger of Yahweh encamps all around those who fear Him and rescues them. Oh, taste and see that Yahweh is good. Blessed is the man that takes refuge in Him. This is your relationship. This is your relationship. Use this as practice. Because when we go to glory, guess what? It's going to be 24/7. The Sabbath has no end. Use this as practice. So I'm going to end it right there. And next time I speak, we're going to talk about